Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, Lauren, how are you?
Who's running it? Roxanne?
Roxanne's running it. Yep.
Okay. And Dave's gonna be late. So hopefully Carola and Alana will jump in, and Gary. Maybe wait a second. A minute.
Used to being in the back seat and it's kind of shelling. And when you take it, it's kind of do when there's like 5 people left in the competition.
Hey Donnie, I saw you were talking to Alana and Carola today. Did they say whether they were coming?
They said they see you at 3, so both of them, I thought, said he would see you a little later on this afternoon, so I thought both of them were going to be here. I tried to call Carola to let her know we're coming back tomorrow to do the.
There she is.
There we go.
And we got Alana. We got Jay. And Gary. I think we can get started. There he is, Gary. Awesome. And one of our flood committee members, Luke, got a job, so he's not going to be able. He's actually got to take a little leave of absence from the flood committee. So, fine. Hey, Gary, how are you? I'll go ahead and kick it off. And hey, Carola, could you take notes? Dave's going to be out. He'll be here in like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Cool. All right, so Linda's here, our town administrator. She wanted to meet all of you. I wanted you to meet her, so maybe we can do some quick introductions as a kickoff, and then I'm sure Linda probably has a few things she'd like to say. Maybe talk a little bit about her role, herself, her background. Whatever you think's relevant, Linda.
Whatever you want.
It's great having you here. I just wanted to give you, Linda, a little bit of background on the flood committee just to provide some context. And I may have shared this with you already, but I don't think I did. So the flood committee was started in 2018, right, Alana? And pretty much everyone on the flood committee now is a charter member. And it was really just a bunch of residents. I wasn't on council at the time, but a bunch of residents who are really getting, sick of the flooding, not feeling like there was a real kind of comprehensive plan in place at the town level. We're trying to think, what can we do? There was no flood committee of any sort. And we got together. It happened to be an election year. And we said, hey, how about we hold a mayoral candidate forum? And there were two candidates running for mayor, and we're like, let's ask them to come to this forum, and we'll ask them a bunch of questions we'll tell them what our concerns are, and kind of ask them like, if you're mayor, what would you do to help address some of these concerns? And how many people showed up? Alana, do you remember? I think it was or Gary, whoever was there. Carol, I think you may have moved.
I wasn't here yet.
It was like a lot of people, 40, 50, 60 people showed up, and there were two different forums. And the candidate who kind of provided the best answers, in our opinion, and really seemed committed to trying to make a change, and really seemed committed to putting resources into creating a plan, ended up being the candidate who won the election, and that was Mike Benton. And shortly after he came into office, I think it was maybe at most 6 months, the town issued a resolution and formed the flood committee. And most of the folks here are, charter members of that committee. The first thing we did was we, figured out what we wanted to do, came up with a list. And the biggest thing we wanted to do was come up with a comprehensive flood action plan. We had a plan, the town had a plan. It wasn't that comprehensive, and it was just sitting on a shelf. It wasn't being implemented. So we secured some grant funding from DNR, 100,000, 200,000, I can't remember exactly, and hired Bayland to write the flood action committee, the plan, flood action plan. Plan was finalized in 2023. All of us were really super committed. If there was one thing we were going to make sure we did, it was this plan was not going to sit on the shelf. All of us put a tremendous amount of effort and work into it. Town put a lot of money into it. And so since 2023, last summer, we've all been working really, really hard. That includes the town, of course, to implement, the items in the flood action plan. There are 7 priority items. They're mixed. They're kind of organized in the priority, intermediate and long term. of those 7 priority items, we're well on the way to completing four of the actions that we need to kind of help mitigate flooding. 5th Street, 7th Street, 9th Street, and the revetment along the boardwalk. And on our agenda for later, we're going to talk about maybe what do we do next. But anyway, that's just a little bit of background. And I just thought it would be kind of cool if, Linda, maybe you want to go next, but then maybe the members of the flood committee can just talk a little bit about who they are and what they bring to the committee. I mean, we've got Jay, who's kind of like our boots on the ground. Carolo helps out with like contracts and RFPs and grants. Alana does her QA, QC. She's got a background in that. Gary's an engineer. Did I miss anyone? Dave. Dave's a writer. He does a lot of our press stuff, works with Don. But anyway, so I'll stop talking.
So, I mean,
you want to take it from here?
Sure, I'll be really quick, I promise. First, I want to thank Lauren and Donnie, who have been really phenomenal getting me up to speed. I've only been in here 90 days, feels like a lot longer. We've got a lot going on. But it's been I really appreciate everything you do, and I've had a lot of questions. So the committee's doing some pretty awesome stuff, and I know we're going to talk about the Shoreline project here later, so I'll put a pin in that. But I'm retired from county government. I worked there for just shy of 28 years. I left there as a deputy administrator. My background's in public relations. I ran economic development for 18, 19 years. I stood up the county's communications department, left as deputy administrator. Prior to that, I was with the private sector. I was a spokesperson for the company that dismantled nuclear warheads from Russia and turned it into fuel for nuclear power plant. So this isn't as bad as that. But so I've got a pretty broad experience, a lot of experience with government budgeting, comprehensive planning, you name it, I've worked on it. But one of the challenges I've seen is there's a huge difference between municipal and local government. So, that learning curve was a little bit sharper than I thought it was going to be on the differences. I mean, the basics are the same. Right now, we're struggling with kind of adjusting budgets and making priorities at the staff level. But I feel great. I mean, the mayor's been supportive. Most of the council members I've had the chance to talk one-on-one with have been phenomenal and supportive. The staff is great. So, I mean, I really couldn't ask for a better place to be. I'll be honest with you, I was not going to return to work. I retired to take care of my dad. My dad passed and went back to work. So that's kind of my life at the 100,000 foot view. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but I'm here to assist in any way that I can.
Thanks, Linda.
Yep.
Hey, yeah, Jay, you want to just talk a bit about, who you are and what your background is, and just quick. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Jay.
Mute myself.
There you are.
Jay Lovelace. I own property at 9307 Bay Avenue and 9300 Annapolis Avenue. We've owned the property since the early 70s. We remodeled the house then, remodeled it again during Isabel. It's a rental unit for us. Right now it's not rented because mostly the flooding. Concerned about putting somebody in there. I worked for Department of Commerce for 18 years in building management. Before that, I was a HVAC technician for GSA. And right now I'm retired, been retired since 2010, enjoying life.
Yeah, and Jay's always the one who, when someone's driving on the berm or something's going on, Donnie or, me or Donnie will be sure to get a video or something so we know what's going on, which is much appreciated. And also he just knows the history. Like you've owned property here for so long, you've really seen how things have changed, and that's can be really helpful.
We had property, my grandparents had property at 9304 Bay Avenue, and they were there for years. And so I'd been coming down here since 1952, the day I was born. So we had boats, we had, the cottage, and my parents ended up building a house up in North Beach Park. So they were up there until they passed.
All right. Thanks, Jay. Whoever wants to go next.
I can go. Or go ahead, Jim. Sure.
Yes. Oh, okay. Alana Van Oudnaren, pleased to meet you. Welcome. I'm at 9304 Atlantic, so right in the heart of our flooding from the front and the back. And I'm in awe of of this team with the expertise that they bring to the table. And been in the town for 7 years. And with that, my background is in quality assurance for pharmaceuticals. Lately, I've been in cell and gene therapy. I'm pretty much retired now, but I will come in and sometimes I have these nitpicky comments on documents, but that's what I bring to the table. But I am very cognizant of the fact that I live on Atlantic and that it's not just flooding here, that it's throughout other areas of the town. And so I do, again, I'm very sensitive to that issue.
Good point. Excellent point.
Yeah, and as to why the way we have incorporated in our mission for the committee. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Gary, Gary Koopman. I have my kids and I own the house on 9111 Bay Avenue, right in the HUD flood area there.
Yeah.
So also a retired professor. I taught engineering for 40 years. I got very interested in the project regarding pumps. So on the 5th Street and 7th and 9th Street, I've been doing a lot of background prep for helping Donnie decide what the best installations would be and how to make this happen. Dave Dambalucci's been very helpful in that as well, because his house is right next to ours. So we have the same experience every time we have a little bit of flooding. Dave fortunately calls and lets us know what's happening. I live in DC, but we spend a lot of time in North Beach. So it's really fun to be on this committee. Good bunch of people.
Hi, I'm Carol Wilson. I've lived in North Beach almost 5 years and been on the committee probably about a week after I moved, when my yard completely flooded with water. And I was like, I think I need to find out what this town's doing about all this. And to what Alana said, I also learned that, the whole town is subject to flooding from various reasons. My background, I worked at AARP for a long time and also worked in my own marketing agency for a while. So my background is in marketing, but also I spent a lot of years buying printing and mailing services. So I've helped a couple times on the flood committee, kind of pulling together and organizing some RFPs. I did a lot of those for some large volume contracts. So, and agreed, it's a great committee. I think we do a lot, and I'm really glad to be part of a committee that is actually putting things forward and accomplishing things. So, yeah. And that's us.
All right. And it looks like Dave hasn't joined us yet. Thanks a lot, Carola. Thanks, everyone. And I think with that, we can jump into the agenda. And Donnie, I hope you're still there. There he is.
He's there somewhere.
There he is. What's first on the agenda? I'm trying to remember.
Got the side-by-side comparison.
9th and 7th Streets.
9th and 7th. Go ahead, DB.
Updates.
Yeah, 9th and 7th Street, update on 9th Street. We did successfully, we called the company and we were worried about the shipping. We knew the parts were coming from Belgium for the pumps and the discharge 90s. So we had them air freight the actual discharge 90s that go down in the wet well for the new pumps. And they did arrive last week. We were able with DPW crew to go out and clean the vault out, and the contractor came in on Thursday. We finally got the tides down a little bit, so we pumped out the pit, and we did get the base elbows installed in the bottom of the pit. The check valves are scheduled to be here today. They didn't show up yet, but they're scheduled to be here today. Hopefully the contractors come back tomorrow, install them, and complete all the piping work that's involved with it. We can get everything ready. The control panel, I did touch base with the manufacturer. That's supposed to arrive within a week. So we can, we'll have that coming. We'll have the pumps coming. The piping will be done. So hopefully like 3 weeks or so, we're looking at wrapping the 7th Street up.
Cool.
I mean, 9th Street, I'm
9th
sorry.
Street, yeah.
9th Street. 7th Street, I was thinking about, we pumped that down, and Lauren happened to do a little walk by, not a couple last week one day, but the tide, we've had probably 12 or 13 days of coastal flood warning. So the tide's not cooperating at all with being able to get that thing pumped down. The contractor went out, he purchased a new plug that can go out in the bay and plug that discharge pipe off. And we have to really verify that we have the 5 feet of space inside the pipe, plus the 3 feet, 36-inch diameter for that check valve to fit in. He's coming back tomorrow, actually. We're going to try that again. The tide was down a little bit today. We're going to try to pump that thing down and verify that. And they do have 2 36-inch check valves in stock, but it's a pretty big item. We don't want to order that and then get it here and say, oh, no, it's not going to work. So we want to verify that tomorrow. That'll be ordered. And if we catch the tide right, I don't see that taking very long to get that installed and functioning within probably a few weeks also. So both of those projects should be wrapping up here within 3 weeks or so. And that, hopefully, like I said, I know when Bob Gray was here keeping records, we had over 20 times that we had flooding from the 7th Street pipe coming back and running down Annapolis Avenue. So, and with the new pumps in, I'd like to add a little bit about 9th Street pump station. Today, we actually went out, we jetted the collection pipe that runs along the drain, along the curb line on Atlantic Avenue from 7th all the way up to 9th and got that cleaned out. So we're trying to get all that cleaned out, have the new pumps in place and start fresh with that pump station in, a couple of weeks here.
All right.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Gary?
Yeah, so Donnie, putting the check valve in requires you have to have access to the pump or to the piping below tide, or how do you do that?
For the 7th Street,
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, Gary, for the 7th Street project you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to plug it. We have a rubber blow up plug that the contractor actually ordered.
Okay,
It'll be installed out in the bay, in the end of the pipe out in the bay.
got it. Okay.
But you actually got a wetsuit also to go with that. So
Is
he's gonna
that
try to get
right?
out there tomorrow, stick that in there. It has an air line that's connected to the plug, like 20 foot of air line. We'll blow
Okay.
it up, stop the flow coming in, then we'll pump out that existing vault that's there. And then he can get in and double check the measurements to make sure we got the clearance that we need.
Okay,
And-
thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie Sullivan, I think did you meet him on site? I know he came out and Dave met him on
Yeah.
site. He's ready and waiting. All you have to do is say, yeah, the contractor has the, put the order in for it. It's there. You set the order.
Okay. Any other questions, anyone? It's fun stuff, a lot going on
Yeah,
the
wow,
Atlantic
wow.
boardwalk and stuff right now.
Hmm.
All right, moving away from the Atlantic though, Donnie, I think the next topic is what's the latest on the green infrastructure, the grant for Greenwood Alley and the Bay Avenue parking lot?
I did send that off. We had it, Linda came in, like she said, she's only been here 90 days. We had like 24 projects on our list. So but we did, so she's working with us. We got a couple of good people in there also looking at capital projects and other things, helping with RFPs and all. So we're flushing all that out pretty quickly. But I did send a copy of the grant to CPH, who is an engineering firm. They're located in Florida, but they do have an office in Bowie. They did the 3rd Street Park, which is now known as Mark Fraser, the park on 3rd Street with the koi ponds. And they also did for us back in 2015, the road raising and the bump outs along Chesapeake Avenue there. So we did, work with them, and they do this type of thing for shopping centers in Florida. They do a lot of pump stations, and they also do a lot of wetlands work because they're located in Florida. So they're out there when a Walmart or Target or some big store comes in, they do a lot of plans for them with green infrastructure so they can put their parking lots in and put their stores in because they're taking up all, permeable space and creating this shopping center. So they're real familiar with this. I sent that to them just to get a proposal, for them looking at the kind of scope that the grant covered and kind of get a rough proposal for Greenwood. To Kyle, who's actually one of their lead guys, has been on site, and he did a walk around with me of the town just to look at, different projects. But while he was up here, we showed him Greenwood Avenue, showed him the parking lot around the library. And, I'd like to create some, raised beds around there with maybe some drainage and, give him some ideas. And he got a kind of a concept of what we were talking about in both areas. Now we, I'm waiting on a proposal back from him. But then with Linda coming in, we're also looking at bringing in an on-call engineer. So we have a couple of different firms that can look at this.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
So,
wanted
okay,
to,
so-
I wanted to keep it moving. So that's the only reason I forwarded
Right.
to ask CPH if they could do it if needed. We didn't make any kind of commitments. We just had them look at it to give us a proposal on
Just to give some like ideas and
yeah, ideas and a ballpark budgeting maybe.
okay, so concepts of a plan.
Yep. That would match the scope that's in the grant.
Did you talk about, did he give you any ideas at all about what might be a good idea for Greenwood? I'm just curious.
No, not yet. He didn't. He
Okay.
saw
I didn't know
it
if
when
he
we came out. We walked the alley together. We showed him the space, showed him the existing line running to there. But he said, he didn't give me any ideas. He said, we did tons of this type of work.
Okay.
Some of it's on a larger scale because they're going into a bigger like wetland marsh area. But he said, I'm sure we can, have our team look at this and come up with something. But he didn't give any exact, concepts yet.
All right.
I have a question on those two grants.
Yes, ma'am.
Just sort of on the administration of them, like, are there timing requirements with these grants? And usually there's some kind of like, compliance, paperwork, process requirements with the grants. Like, who's handling that now?
Well, Tom,
mean,
yes,
but
Tom
he's-
Lispey's no longer with us, but we're working
Right, well,
on
that's-
filling. Yeah, we're
that's
working
why I
on
was-
filling his shoes
Yeah.
as we speak. Like we
Like a
have
staff person,
Me.
or like a?
It's
Linda,
me
Oh,
at this
okay.
point. Right now, it's me because, we tried to get, we offered Tom an extended contract and he just, it just didn't work out. We offered him a contract. He declined it. So right now I'm managing this internally. And, with the limited amount of staff that we have, it's probably going to be me for the next couple of months. So I did get an excellent turnover report from him. So I don't feel like I'm that far behind. In fact, I just got that yesterday. So,
That's great.
I'm not feeling bad about that at all, but I don't know that it will be me full time, but I'll make sure that Donnie and I are in complete communication about this because I am not in the habit of wanting to pay anybody any money back. So, and I want to get the
Yeah,
project
well,
done. I want to get the project done.
That was my worry, like some of these have time limits with them and we've
Yeah.
had these grants for several months, so I just don't want to lose out. Yeah, that doesn't look good on us for future grants.
Yeah, you know what, I will, I'll tell you what, I'll put together a little table of where we are and get it out to you. Would that be helpful?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sure.
that'd be great. Thanks, Linda.
Yep, you got it.
And if there are some task-oriented things or whatever that you need help with,
Ask us, yeah.
I can, you have some flood committee, we have some flood committees members who might have time. I have some time that I can help with some things if you need be. I used to help Tom every once in a while when he was doing the grant applications. Alana and I both helped out with
That's
those.
excellent. That's excellent. That's not something, I've done them before. It's not something I've focused on recently, but I feel comfortable with what I've gotten from Todd and just knowing this, a lot of these are the DNR things. So, one of the things that we're going to be talking to council about next month is realigning our ARPA projects to make sure we can leverage that ARPA money against the DNR money we've received to do any matching or any other requirements. So, Lauren, that'll be coming to you
All right.
in November,
good.
maybe December, but we have to have all that money committed by the end of the year, so it can't
Right.
sit.
Okay, well, that's actually really good to hear because I'm sure there's things that can be kind of changed around to make sure we're making the most efficient use of those funds and that we are
Well,
going to use them all and obligate them all.
yeah, and Donnie mentioned, and I know Lauren has met Veronica Atkinson. Veronica is a CIP expert. I've brought her in for several months. Hopefully we can keep her around a little bit longer. And she's helping our treasurer get our CIP realigned with more detailed explanation of how we're spending, how those funds are encumbered over, a couple of years. Instead of doing, 1 to 2 year planning, actually doing a 6-year CIP. How far out do we take these projects? Can the funds from grants expend themselves over a couple of years? So I hope to have that report back to council next month as well. She's done a pretty bang up job getting it ready, but it needed some work, but I feel good about it. But CIPs are incredibly important and they're easy to mess up. So
And what's a CIP, just for those of us who don't know what it means?
capital improvement plan. So
Capital.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm
that's okay.
speaking
I called it
government.
capital.
Thank you, guys.
Capital project. Okay, great.
I'm sorry. I'm speaking government. I'm sorry.
That's
Capital
okay.
improvement
And
plan.
I'm
No,
government. I need to get it.
I actually appreciate that because in my field, it means clean in place. And I was like,
I'm
wait. they have-
sorry.
they have
I'm
to be
cleaning
talking-
as we're talking, but no,
Okay.
it's, I am cleaning this, but it's,
Okay.
you know, it's not, the plan's not, there's nothing really wrong with the plan. We're just realigning the funds, making sure that our ARPA money is actually qualified to match some of these bigger projects that we've got. Because we don't have enough money in budget to do some of the things, even some of the flood committee things that need to get done. So I just want to make sure that money is there and in place and encumbered before we lose it.
Sounds good. All right. What's next on the
Any-
agenda?
What's
Anything
next
I wanted
after
to touch
7th
on?
Street? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Donnie.
I'm sorry. The only thing I wanted to touch on, I know the flood committee members have seen it. We have another item that Lauren talked about was the area from 7th Street South along the boardwalk area that gets hammered pretty bad when we get to wave action. We lost the boardwalk there, railing, and a lot of damage there a couple times in the last couple of years. We have 2 proposals that came in to look at that area and try to correct some of that. And that was some money slotted there in the CIP budget. So we have 2 proposals. We asked, Lauren did a great job. She went back and asked them for a closer apple to apple kind of comparison. We did get that back. We had questions. We sent them and we got answers. We have all that stuff ready. That's been emailed out to the flood committee. We're going to try to, and we're going to take that to, just so y'all know, November work session meeting. We're planning on taking that to present it to the council to get that thing moving. So we can make an award to one of those and get that project ready for design, concept design. And then we, once we get the design back, we'll move to the RFP.
Hey, Donnie, one quick question on that proposal. What is going to happen to the breakwater facility where I think where the nets hang right now and that kind of thing?
That-
Is
This
that
will be a
gonna
little
remain in
bit
place?
north of that.
What's going to be north of that? Okay.
Yeah, a
Okay.
little bit north of that area right there. It'll connect almost to that on the southern tip of the new project, but
Okay.
it's going heading north towards 7th Street from the
Okay.
existing
Okay.
breakwaters heading north there. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, and thanks everyone Carola, thanks for taking a first crack at that side by side and everyone for reviewing it. I think it really is in good shape and will help. It helped me see kind of the pros and cons with each proposal. It'll help council see that. It's a big project. It's a lot of money. We want to make sure we get it right.
Very
So
important
anyway.
project. Very important
Okay.
project and very costly. Like I said, we
Yeah.
want to make sure we're getting, something that works and not just, so appreciate everybody's time on that, but we're
Yeah.
ready to take it to council and then introduce it and hopefully vote on awarding something in the council meeting in November. That's all I had for that.
And then
All right.
the last item agenda was then what's next after 7th Street? What's our
Okay.
next
So I'll just
for
kick
the
this off.
revetment?
So I was just looking at, the executive summary. You guys remember this? You see it? Probably
Mhm.
The executive summary, well, this is page, I don't know, 3I. And this is a table of the things that the Bayland suggested we do from, do right away to longer term. And in the immediate implementation section, there's 7 projects. And I said this earlier, but we're well on our way to completing 4 of those projects. 5th is done, 7th, 9th. Donnie was just talking about the revetment along between 7th and Hatches. The other 2 items on that list, there's 3 others. One is the stormwater system upgrades on Atlantic. I believe that refers to replacing the slot drains. It's a price of around $50,000. Donnie, don't you?
I would think that was talk about that, but I think that price is way under.
It's way under, just ignore the
Yeah.
price, but I think that's what
Yeah,
that
but that's probably
That's the
related to that.
the
Yeah.
slot drains, now that were just cleaned today and look beautiful, by the way. They're only like,
They're not done yet.
oh, they're not,
halfway
yeah,
clean,
sorry, they're
halfway.
done in front of my house.
Right.
They're like 2 inches wide. And I think the proposal was, when we all went to, what was that, StormCon? Remember some of those slot drains? They were like a foot wide. So that's one thing that's still left on the immediate implementation list. The other 2 are kind of like, they're way out there. I can't imagine we would want to propose this. One is construct an earthen dike at the marsh northwest of Bay Avenue, completely new berm. And then the other one is, totally like up armor, whatever you want to call it, the seawall all the way along Atlantic at the tune of $7 million. So that's maybe something that will happen down the line. You know, this whole thing that we're talking about, that with the oyster reef and the thing we're talking about doing from Hatches to Seventh, if that works, we're really in good shape to get grant money to do additional sections along, you know, North Beach's coast, so to speak. But I think that's something that we would not want to recommend as a priority. I'm almost feeling like, and I'll just start first. I mean, I would say we would like maybe really think seriously about whether we want to do the slat drains on Atlantic, and then figure out what, you know, what folks think there, and then maybe start looking at some of the midterm implementation projects. And it looks like there are about 8 of those.
Where was the stormwater drain upgrades all through town? Was that in the midterms?
Yeah,
'Cause I
that's in
thought-
the that's in the
that's in the
midterm.
midterm.
And you know,
'Cause that
some
wasn't-
like Annapolis Avenue is like, again, these prices are a little question, you know, who knows how accurate they are, but that's like a $50,000 project. But we have Annapolis Avenue, Bay Avenue, Chesapeake Avenue, Dayton Avenue, Frederick, and Greenwood. And yeah, installation of a seawall within the beach. That's another really big kind of out there
Yeah.
project. But yeah, so most of the stormwater system upgrades to the streets I just listed are in the midterm implementation, and none of them are like super costly. Most of them are under 500,000. A lot of them are under 100,000 or right around 100,000. Anyway, that's kind of, you know, so I just open it up to the group, you know.
I would recommend, my 2 cents was, now that we got all, you know, we're going to spend a lot of money on the waterfront, and that was the main issues when we get the flooding. That's where you really see it at, notice it at. But then we need to revisit going back to Greenwood and start, like we talked about, you know, originally, looking to see where we can slow down the water and how much that'll help from
Coming
the flooding.
down,
Yeah,
yeah.
coming down, because we have 40 or 50, it's about 49 acres in Calvert County. And we were, you know, estimating 20,000 gallons a minute when we get this heavy downpours. We've had, really this year, we've had more tidal flooding than we had from rainwater. We had a dry June, dry July, almost no rain the whole summer.
Mhm.
We got the hurricane, we didn't even get but a quarter inch of rain. But, you know, sooner or later, it's going to revert the cycle back to where we get the heavy downpours, and then we get all the water coming in from out of Calvert County. So maybe we could look at, see what we can do, you know, from Greenwood heading east, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Heading east to slow down or help. There's a pump at Fifth Street, you know, so far, knock on wood, that's done a pretty good job when we had, you know, the downpours keeping up with the water, but we can see where we can improve, maybe, you know, take a closer look, like Lauren's saying, the midterm, or some improvements to make the residents feel welcome or wanted back in town, heading towards the beach.
Good point. Yeah. All right. So
But
just
anybody
looking
can
at-
chime in. That's just,
looking at some of the midterm fixes, and Carla mentioned also these stormwater system upgrades along these various streets.
What's the actual process of a storm upgrade? Do they actually have to dig up the road and put in new piping, or what's the process? Is that
the expensive part, Gary. You're right. Like if you get into some of the piping we have, most of it luckily is a lot of it's concrete pipe, so that's pretty good shape. But the
Mhm.
old galvanized corrugated steel pipe is like along Atlantic Avenue. That's what that was. And a lot of places that we've got a pretty good camera. But if you run that camera through the galvanized pipe, the salt water now over time, because a lot was put in the 80s, 84 in that area.
Wow.
That pipe is actually now, you know, has holes, rust spots, it's caving in, you'll get dirt, and then you get a sinkhole in the roadway. So you know you got a hole in the galvanized pipe underneath because all the dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
But the problem, like you're saying, is it becomes expensive now because then you have to sock out the road, dig up, remove the old pipe, you know, put a bed of gravel in, relay the new pipe, connect it to either structure, you know, wherever it started and ended from.
Yeah.
And then that's the pipe itself, you know, that did go up like crazy since COVID, but the actual labor to install it is, you know, expensive also now with the road
Yeah.
work and all that's associated with it.
Yeah, okay. So it's big process.
Yeah,
Expensive,
it's
yeah.
time consuming, big, yeah,
Yeah.
could be.
Messy.
But-
Anyone else? Ideas? Ari? Okay,
I would
Well,
just
maybe-
like to thank,
Go ahead.
I know, I'm sorry, Lon. I would just like to take a real quick minute to thank Linda for joining in because I know she's a busy lady because I've been with her yesterday, every day, pretty much on and off for a while. And I know she's got 100 things going on.
I
So I
appreciate it, Donnie.
I appreciate her taking the time out. And I think it's important for her to see how active this committee is and what we're doing. So I appreciate her sitting in on this meeting for us.
We've been having some fun with water and sewer. I will give you that.
To
They're
be
the funnest
continued.
group.
Yeah, we are the funnest group, we like to say. We'll have to invite you to our next little get together whenever. We should
I'd love to.
we should
Need
plan
another
that.
cookout at the yard before it gets cold. So let me
Oh,
know.
yeah. Well, we should plan that. Well, maybe make that the last agenda item. All right, so I'm not sure, maybe next steps. I don't know, folks, maybe just kind of read through the plan a little bit, the executive summary. Maybe we can all, provide kind of like a pick list to Donnie. And then the next step would be, this is obviously very tightly, tied into what Linda's working on with the capital improvement projects and the list and prioritizing and aligning with ARPA and other, funding sources and the town's budget itself. So, I mean, maybe a good next step is, the flood committee can make a recommendation to the town as to maybe the next couple of projects we think we should focus on.
I agree.
You think the town should focus on? Does that sound, Linda, does that sound kind of reasonable to you?
I think so. Absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, the more help, the better, right? We don't have anybody in here. I mean, we're tapped out, and I think this committee, I haven't really fully studied the plan. Donnie and I've talked about it quite a bit, but the work that's been done is pretty incredible. So I wouldn't want to lose any momentum with that.
Okay.
at
So then
all.
why don't we shoot to get Donnie kind of a, I don't know, top three pick list to Donnie of, just a flood committee recommendation to, kind of where we recommend the town focuses its efforts to keep moving forward on implementation of this plan.
Okay.
The most important part that the residents and flood committee can do is when we do get a downpour is actually walk around town. Because a lot of times, we're there, 7 to 4 or whatever hours, but a lot of time we get the storms there Friday night, Saturday night, whatever. So if you see something happening, the committee has been doing it, but go out, take pictures, look in the back streets, look in the back areas, not the normal places, and see where you might come across, standing water, a problem that needs to be addressed. And then we can kind of rank them if we do get a chance to get a storm or downpour and you're out and about.
Might sound a little crazy, but I promise I'll bring it around the corner. We're getting ready to build out a tasking system. And one of the things we're going to be doing is kind of forcing email tasking into this system so we can kind of keep track of everything. And one of the things that I know FEMA and MEMA have been really hard on is making sure that our photographs are GIS tagged so that when we have to submit for reimbursement and blah, 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 blah. But maybe we can figure out a way to communicate publicly to send all these flooding pictures to this email address so we can track them and document. I don't know that we're going to be there for a couple of months, but it would be a really good way for us to collect data and
And the
GIS
rest
tag.
we are putting them on MyCoast, which is
Yeah, we do.
tomorrow. We attended like a seminar, and that's
Yeah,
a pretty cool system. I know you might have heard of it from through the county, but it's MyCoast, and then that way the residents can go right on there and it gives you date, time, location.
we might be able to pull it from there, but
Yeah,
so
we can probably pull
yeah.
it there maybe.
But I want to
We
make
have
sure
a-
that so that we can do a universal report on all the different things that we have
Yeah.
coming in. But
I think that's probably
Yeah.
part of the problem. And I know, Carola, you looked into that. How easy is it for us to get data about our town out
I-
in some kind of report?
I'll send, we
So-
have that common spreadsheet and it's got links on there to the MyCoast reports. Linda, I'll send
Okay.
that to you. I've been keeping it updated and,
okay,
people on the
So-
committee have been putting, photos on MyCoast. So I'll send it to you, Linda. I'll
That's
probably have
great.
to update it from like the pictures from the last flood.
that's okay. But it's the system we're going to be using is called Zendesk, and we're not going to be even using it to probably a tenth of its potential. And I hate to say it like that, but this same system is used by Amazon. It's used by, and it's a great public facing internal, external facing portal to get you what you need and be able, especially for the town council, we'll be able to run reports and you can see many, many things. But we used it at the county when we started, pushing stuff in, and we would pull it in from our GIS system from the public, and it was coming in from all these different places, and we could pull all this data into one report. and just say, here you go, MEMA, give us our money. And we didn't even know, I'd love to take credit for it, but at the time we were doing it, they had, FEMA and MEMA had just changed this requirement to geotag everything, because if you don't have before and after photos, you know, so we were able to capture a lot of data that we didn't have even in our GIS system. So we ended up having to go out with drones for some of it before we got really smart about it. But there may be a way to publicly engage in addition to this other system, but I'm sure we can incorporate it or even use both. So I'll keep you posted on our progress there. We're going to get ready to do our kickoff. I think it's Friday to do build out. So stay tuned, but I do think it's going to be a pretty powerful tool for staff, council, and probably the public.
All right. Hey, Roxanne, I don't know if you can hear me, but Dave's in the waiting room. If you could let him in. I know something's wrong with Roxanne's mic.
She can't hear
And
me.
the meeting's
There he
adjourned.
is. There he is.
Meeting's adjourned.
Meeting's adjourned, Dave. No.
Well, I was just about to do the final wrap-up item on the agenda, which was, did anybody else on the call have any questions?
I've got one question, Donnie. It's for Donnie.
Yes, sir.
We had talked about maybe the stormwater pipe that comes down 9th Street was full of settlement, and you didn't want that settlement to get into the new pumps, and there was talk about cleaning some of that.
Yeah, the mayor, me and him met today actually around, I don't know, whenever he popped in the office here. And, you know, we finally, that contractor that we have today working on the slot trains is the best one I had since we cleaned 9th Street out back in 2015 or whenever it was. He wants me to get pricing from them and to see if they can do a large diameter pipe like that. I did call the same company that did it before, did 5th Street, 7th Street, 9th Street, but I haven't got a return call, and I don't know if they're too busy or what the deal is. But Magnolia, they do it up in DC all the time. I just don't know if they can do that larger pipe. We're kind of lucky because that big concrete pipe that's in 9th Street, the pipe that comes over to the pump station is elevated off the floor. So if you have a foot of silt in that pipe, in other words, the water's coming across that silt and then coming into the pump station. So we do have a little bit of a trap where that sediment is right now, but that's a costly thing. And then we're going to start working on the budget here, in October. So that's an item that could be put into next year's budget to get that clean. And then, we'll have to put that out for an RFP probably because of the price of that job. But that is on the list of things to do.
Hey, I just didn't want to see it ruin the pumps.
Yeah.
No, it's me either, because we're waiting, and then they're coming from Belgium, and we want to start fresh. We're cleaning as much as we can, so we're going to start as fresh as we can for sure. It's probably we cambered that line not too long ago. It's about a foot of silt in there now. So, but it's not up to the point where the pipe is coming into the wet well.
All right.
All right.
Okay, nobody else on the call had any questions? And I guess that's it, huh?
Oh, hey, do you guys want to talk about like a fall get together at the DPW? You guys be into that? Or it gets too cold?
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I do.
Sounds good.
All right, maybe Donnie and I will just maybe try to figure out a few dates and then reach out to all of you and figure out what, food and what we want to do and
Okay.
Accomplishment party.
accomplishment party, yeah. With special guests. All right.
Sorry, I was late.
Oh,
folks.
Dave. Hey, Dave, we just did a little quick intro. Meet Linda. I think you all know each other, actually. Linda, meet Dave.
Hi, Linda. Nice to meet you. Virtually, anyway.
Hi, Dave.
Sorry, I was late. Unavoidable this time, but
That's okay. We told
I'll do
Linda.
better.
We told Linda all about you. You're good.
okay,
was-
good.
Hey, ask Dave, what was your score, Dave?
Yeah, who's your score?
I was just kidding you.
78.
Ah,
Great.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thanks for all of
Okay.
you who showed up, and we will keep moving forward as we
Okay.
do.
Bye-bye.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us.